6 months ago, I let my mom move in with me. She'd lost her job again, this time because of office politics, which was code for her clashing with yet another boss who didn't appreciate her honesty. She's 52, but her resume reads like a timeline of burned bridges. I'd heard the same promises before. This time will be different. I'll get back on my feet. I just need a little help. But she's my mom, and she'd been sleeping on my sister's couch for weeks. So I cleared out the spare room. The deal was simple. She'd help with chores and babysit my sister's 3-year-old Emma, while my sister worked doubles at the hospital. Mom swore she was done with men, done with drinking, done with the chaos that's followed her since my dad left a decade ago. For the first month, she kept her word. The apartment stayed clean, Emma's sticky fingerprints on the walls were the only mess, and Mom's laughter, light, almost girlish, felt like a miracle. Then she met Carl. He's the maintenance guy at our complex, 60 years old with a leathery tan and a habit of lingering too long in doorways. I'd see him sometimes when I took out the trash, his eyes flicking over our unit like he was pricing the furniture. Mom met him when our sink clogged. She called him charming after he fixed it. I called him the guy who smells like menthols and entitlement. They started dating 2 months in. Suddenly, Mom was wearing mascara again, humming old Fleetwood Mac songs while folding laundry. I wanted to be happy for her, but Carl's jokes about moving in, "You got room for one more, sweetheart?" made my skin prickle. He'd ask how much I paid in rent, whether the child support from Emma's deadbeat dad was steady. Mom just laughed, swatting his arm like it was all a game. My sister and I laid down a rule: no overnight guests until we knew him better. Mom agreed, but her smile tightened at the edges. "You don't trust me," she said, not a question. Everything unraveled on a Thursday. I came home early from work, nauseous from a migraine, and found Carl's scuffed work boots by the door. Mom rushed out of the kitchen, her cheeks flushed. "He just stopped by for coffee," she said, too loud. The trash can reeked of whiskey, half a bottle buried under coffee grounds. Mom's been sober since the night my dad walked out. She'd sworn it was her last relapse. When I confronted her, she crumpled. "You don't understand," she kept saying, tears smudging her eyeliner. "He makes me feel seen," I pointed to the trash. She turned icy. "So now you're my parole officer?" Christmas Eve was worse. I woke up to Carl's raspy laugh echoing from the living room. Mom had let him stay over, her robe hanging loose as she giggled over a rom-com. Emma's tiny stocking dangled next to the TV, oblivious. I didn't yell, just said, "He needs to leave." Mom screamed then, a raw, guttural sound I hadn't heard since Dad's taillights vanished. "You're jealous," she spat. "You've always hated seeing me happy." Carl slipped out without a word, taking the whiskey with him. Mom spent Christmas Day locked in her room, sobbing. I left a plate of ham and rolls by her door. It sat there until the gravy congealed. 3 days later, Carl dumped her over the phone. "Too much drama," he told her. "I know because Mom played the voicemail for me," her hand trembling. "You drove him away," she whispered. "You and your sister with your rules." Then came the vodka in her laundry basket. Then the credit card charges, $287 at the corner store. Then the note, "You'll miss me when I'm gone. My sister wants her out. Says Mom's a sinking ship and we can't let her drag Emma under." But where does she go? She's burned every bridge, including mine. Last night, I found her digging through my purse. "I'm your mother," she hissed when I caught her, "after all I've sacrificed." The kicker? This morning, as I scrubbed mascara off the bathroom tiles, she'd thrown another bottle. She looked at me with this hollowed-out stare and said, "You're just like your father." I used to wonder why he left. Now I think maybe he didn't run from her. He ran toward peace. My sister's crashing here tonight. We'll probably order takeout, avoid the spare room, and pretend we're not waiting for the next explosion. Mom's singing in the shower right now, off-key and weirdly cheerful. Part of me wants to hug her. Part of me wants to change the locks. I don't know if I'm the asshole for wanting her gone. I don't know if I'm worse for wanting her to stay. All I know is, every time I look at her, I see the mom who taught me to ride a bike and the stranger who stole my credit card. I don't recognize either of them anymore. Maybe that's the worst part. Now for the first update. 2 weeks ago, I shared how my mom's relationship with Carl blew up our lives. I wish I could say it got better. Instead, I've been scrubbing vodka out of carpet and finding eviction notices in her junk drawer. I don't even know who to blame anymore. The drinking got worse first. Mom used to watch my niece Emma every Tuesday and Thursday while my sister worked. Last week, she just didn't show up. My sister called me frantic from the hospital parking lot. She'd gotten written up for missing too many shifts. When we confronted Mom, she shrugged and said, "Emma's better off with someone responsible anyway." The kicker? She'd been napping on my couch with an empty wine cooler tucked under the cushion. Then Carl came back. He showed up to fix our leaky faucet like nothing happened. I didn't even know maintenance requests could be weaponized. Mom was in her room, supposedly asleep, when Carl leaned against the counter and said, casual as ordering coffee, "Met someone new. Real classy lady, owns her own condo." I froze, spatula midair, thinking, why are you telling me this? That's when Mom's door creaked open. She'd heard everything. For a second, she just stood there, hands shaking, her neon pink bathrobe clashing with the gray circles under her eyes. Then she grabbed the closest thing, a vase I'd bought at Target, and hurled it at the wall. Glass exploded everywhere. Carl ducked, muttered, "Jesus, Karen," and bolted. Mom turned to me, wild-eyed. "You invited him here to humiliate me." I didn't bother arguing. Her paranoia's been off the charts since Carl left. Later, while sweeping up shards, I found the eviction notices. They'd been stuffed in her desk drawer under old photos of Dad, final warnings for unpaid bills, her phone service about to get cut. When I asked if she needed help budgeting, she sneered, "You're not my parent, you know." Slammed her door so hard Emma's crayon drawing fluttered off the fridge. My sister lost it. She's always been the fixer, organizing interventions, tracking Mom's AA meetings. But that night she snapped. "Quit drinking and get back in the program," she told Mom, "or move out by February 1st. Mom laughed. Actually, laughed like it was an open mic night. "You'll regret this," she said, voice cold. "When I'm gone, you'll realize how much you needed me." For 2 days, she half-packed a suitcase, leaving it spilling clothes in the hallway. Then, suddenly, she was making pancakes at 7 a.m., humming Blue Bayou, like we hadn't spent the weekend screaming. "Who wants chocolate chips?" she asked, grinning at Emma. My sister and I just stared. The whiplash was worse than the silence, but the credit card was the breaking point. I noticed the charges first. $287 at the corner store, 3 separate transactions. When I checked the security cam, I installed one after the whiskey incident, there she was. Mom, in her pajamas at 11 p.m., buying handles of vodka and a family-sized bag of Skittles. Confronting her felt like poking a bear. "You owe me," she hissed. "I put you through college, didn't I?" I didn't mention that she'd dropped out sophomore year when Dad left, just canceled the card. Mom called me a selfish brat and gave me the silent treatment for 3 days. Then, last Thursday, Carl's new girlfriend moved in. Mom saw them unloading boxes from a U-Haul. She sprinted back upstairs, hyperventilating, mascara rivers down her cheeks. "You have to talk to him," she begged, gripping my arm. "Tell him I've changed." I peeled her fingers off me. "Mom, he's not." She didn't let me finish. "You'd help if you loved me." I almost caved. Then I remembered the credit card, the eviction notices, the way she'd looked at me when she called me Dad's name. Last night, my sister found her passed out drunk in the bathtub. Water overflowed, soaking the floor. We screamed at each other over whether to call 911. My sister wanted to. I was terrified of the medical bills. Mom woke up mid-argument, slurring, "Stop, overreacting, just let me sleep." This morning, my wallet was $40 lighter, her note scrawled on a CVS receipt, "You'll miss me when I'm gone." I don't know what's worse, the stealing, the lying, or the part of me that still wants to forgive her. When she taught me to drive, she'd say, "Eyes on the road, not the rear view." Now I'm stuck watching her spiral in every mirror. My sister's staying over tonight. We'll probably eat cold pizza and ignore the suitcase Mom's been packing for days. Part of me hopes she leaves. Part of me's terrified she will. I used to think rock bottom had a ladder. Now I know it's just quicksand, and she's pulling us in with her. Now for the second update. 3 weeks ago, I wrote about my mom's breakdown after Carl left. I thought things couldn't get worse. Then she vanished. She disappeared for 2 days after stealing the $40 from my wallet. No texts, no calls, just empty space where her chaos used to be. When she came back, her hair reeked of cigarettes and some cloying vanilla perfume. "A friend let me crash," she said, tossing a new designer handbag onto the couch. My sister eyed it like it was a live grenade. "What friend?" I asked. Mom just smirked and said, "You don't know him." The sneaking out got worse after that. She'd wait until midnight, then slip out in heels she hadn't worn since my high school graduation. One morning, I found a cashmere coat draped over her chair, tag still on, price enough to cover a month of her missed phone bills. "Early birthday gift," she said when I pointed to it. Her smile was too sharp, like she wanted me to challenge her. My sister followed her last Tuesday, said she couldn't sleep anyway, figured she'd take a drive. She called me at 2 a.m., voice flat. Mom got into a Lexus with a guy in a fedora, looked like a bad mob movie. When we confronted her, Mom rolled her eyes. "I'm networking for a job. You think LinkedIn's the only way to get hired?" I almost admired the audacity. Then I found the burner phone. It was buried in her purse under a wad of gum wrappers and receipts. I only looked because she'd borrowed my charger. Again. The texts lit up the screen. "Dinner at 8, I'll bring the champagne," from a number labeled D. Another read, "Your place or mine," from M. My hands shook so bad I dropped the phone. When I showed my sister, she just muttered, "Jesus, she's hustling geriatric sugar daddies." Confronting Mom felt like poking a hornet's nest. "You're meeting strangers for money? This isn't safe," she snorted. "At least they appreciate me. You just nag like your father." That stung. She knew it would. Then Derek showed up. It was 1 a.m. when the doorbell rang. Mom stumbled to answer it, giggling in that sloshy way she does after just one drink. A guy in his 50s, leather jacket, too much cologne, leered in the doorway. "Inviting me in, Karen?" My sister was at her place with Emma, so it was just me, barefoot in pajamas, trying to block Derek from seeing the piles of takeout boxes behind me. "Mom." "No." She shoved past me, dragging him toward the couch. "Derek's a gentleman," she slurred. "Unlike you." I called the cops. Or I threatened to. My hands were shaking too much to dial. Derek left, but not before Mom screamed, "You've ruined my life. I wish I'd aborted you." The words hung in the air like smoke. I couldn't breathe. My sister came over the next morning, took one look at my face, and started packing Emma's toys. "I can't do this anymore," she said, voice cracking. "I won't let her scream at you like Dad did." Watching them leave felt like failure. That night, Mom passed out on the couch, an empty vodka bottle rolling under the coffee table. I took photos of the bottle, the burner phone, the eviction notices I dug out of her drawer. Proof, maybe, that I wasn't crazy. I texted them to her brother, my Uncle Mark. He replied 5 minutes later, "Your mom's always been a train wreck. Good luck." The next part's fuzzy. Mom woke up, saw me holding her phone, and lunged. The phone hit my temple hard enough to leave a bruise. She didn't apologize, just yelled, "You're dead to me," like she was reciting a line from a play. I slept at my sister's that night, but guilt gnawed a hole in my chest. What if she OD'd? What if she set the apartment on fire with a lit cigarette? I drove back at dawn, half hoping she'd be gone. She was. So was my laptop, and Grandma's emerald ring, the only thing I had left of her. The landlord called an hour later. Carl reported Mom for harassing his girlfriend. Apparently, Derek wasn't her only late-night visitor. We have 48 hours to resolve the situation or face eviction. I'm sitting in the empty apartment now. Sunlight's hitting the vase shards I never cleaned up, making them glitter like something worth saving. My sister says we should have kicked Mom out sooner. Maybe she's right. But I keep thinking of the mom who taught me to ride a bike, who sewed my Halloween costumes, who cried when I got into college. That mom's gone. Or maybe she was never there. The worst part of me still wants to forgive her, to believe the next text, the next knock, will be her saying, "I'm ready to change." But the other part, the part that found her burner phone, that scrubbed her vodka out of the carpet, knows better. We're meeting the landlord tomorrow. My sister's bringing a lawyer. I'm packing the rest of Mom's things into trash bags, not sure where she'll go, not sure I can care anymore. Last night, I dreamt I was chasing her through our old neighborhood. She kept laughing, just out of reach, until I tripped and fell. When I looked up, she was gone. Just my reflection in a puddle, tired and older than I remember. Maybe that's all family is. People you keep running after, even when they leave you in the dirt. Now for the final update. It's been a month since I last posted. A lot of you asked for an update, but honestly, I didn't know how to put any of this into words. How do you explain watching someone you love choose self-destruction over every lifeline you throw? After Mom stole my laptop and Grandma's jewelry, she vanished. No calls, no texts, just silence. The police said there was nothing they could do. Family matters aren't criminal matters, the officer told me, like that was supposed to make the knot in my stomach unravel. My sister and I changed the locks that same day. We boxed up Mom's things, half-empty perfume bottles, moth-eaten sweaters, a stack of old birthday cards I'd written her as a kid, and dropped them at a shelter. The woman at the counter said, "God bless you," and I almost laughed. Blessings felt irrelevant by then. A week later, Mom called. Not from a payphone or a stranger's burner, but a rehab center. Her voice was shaky but clear. "I'm sorry," she said. "I hit rock bottom." She told me Derek, the guy she'd brought home that night, was a counselor who'd taken pity on her. Said she wanted to get better. Asked if I could send $500 to cover her stay. "Please," she whispered. "I just need one chance." I sent the money, not because I believed her, but because I needed to believe I hadn't given up. That maybe, somewhere under the vodka and vitriol, she was still my mom. 2 days later, the rehab center called. Mom had left against medical advice. Didn't pay her balance. The receptionist sounded exhausted. Happens more than you'd think. The pawn shop called next. My laptop had turned up there. The clerk said Mom sold it for $150, barely a third of what it was worth. When I asked if she seemed okay, he paused. She asked if we sold flasks, said she needed something discreet. Filing the police report was the hardest part. The cop taking my statement kept sighing, like I was wasting his time. "You sure you want to do this?" he asked. My sister squeezed my hand. "Yes," I said. The word tasted like bile. Then Mom showed up at my job. I was leaving the office when I saw her leaning against my car, hair greasy, mascara smudged. She looked smaller, older. "I need help," she said. No hello, no apology, just a flat demand. Derek had let her sleep in his car, but he'd kicked her out after she borrowed his credit card. I told her I couldn't do this anymore, that she needed to go back to rehab. She spat, "You're dead to me," and walked off. Same line as before. Same hollow venom. Derek called the next morning. Mom had stolen his wallet, bought 3 bottles of bourbon, and maxed out his card. Cops found her in a motel room, passed out with Grandma's ring clutched in her hand. Visiting her in jail felt surreal. She sat behind the plexiglass, her orange jumpsuit swallowing her frame. "You happy now?" she asked. Her eyes were bloodshot but dry. No tears this time. The judge offered her rehab or 6 months in jail. She chose jail. "At least here," she said, "people don't pretend to care." We moved out the next week. My sister found a smaller apartment on the other side of town. No balcony, no laundry room, no Carl lurking in the parking lot. The first night I lay awake listening to the silence. No slamming doors, no broken glass, just my niece's soft snores from the next room. Last week I found a note in our old mailbox, scrawled on a gas station receipt. "I'm sorry. You were right, Mom." I held it until the paper went damp. Part of me wanted to frame it. Part of me wanted to burn it. My sister pawned the last of Mom's jewelry, a gold bracelet I'd never seen her wear. We used the money to buy Emma a stuffed dinosaur. She named it Mr. Roar and sleeps with it every night. I saw Mom once more, at the grocery store by the dairy aisle. She looked healthier, hair trimmed, color in her cheeks. We locked eyes for a second. She nodded like we were strangers who'd shared an elevator and turned down the frozen foods. I didn't follow. My sister started therapy, says it's helping her let go of the what-ifs. I'm working late most nights, but it's not to avoid the quiet anymore. Got a promotion last month. First thing I did was open an emergency savings account. The other day, Emma drew a picture of our family. Just her, my sister, and me. No Mom, no Carl, no shadowy figures in fedoras. "That's us at the park," she said, and pointing to 3 stick figures under a lopsided sun. I keep the note in my wallet. Not as a reminder of Mom, but as a reminder of me, that I held boundaries even when guilt clawed at my ribs. That I finally stopped chasing someone determined to vanish. Last night, I slept through the night. No nightmares, no 3 a.m. panic, just 8 hours of stillness. When I woke up, sunlight was streaming through the blinds, and for the first time in years, I didn't dread what the day might bring. It's enough.